Thank you. Thank you very much from all of this. I think the physics, that you would and like the language, the transfer to open and find is for each time. When you are guided in the end point and just go to the So I hope I will, yeah, I don't like this, yeah, yeah. So, but we were discussing the events that happened during creation and after, and which led to the found Adam and Eve getting different roles in terms of what their life was children. And I want to recap and then pick up from there. So we discussed the story of creation, and we saw that there were two accounts. There was Genesis chapter 1, and there was also a Genesis chapter 2. Yeah. And I remember something you gave us the relationship between them. If you can, do you remember what I'm asking? Yeah. Yeah. So there was the history of the seventh day in Genesis chapter 1. And then when you go to chapter 2, there is the same story, but yeah. So we saw that in Genesis, I think chapter 2, when you go to verse 19, yeah, Adam is seen naming animals, right? And Eve was not there. And according to the whole thing, Eve is not created yet. Yes. So I remember asking Amy at that point, and the question I was asking is, why is that? Why is it that we are told in creation that Adam and Eve were equal? They were all given Eden to take care of it. They were to cultivate it, they were to subdue and all that stuff. But in chapter 2, we only see Adam doing all the things. And then Eve is at the end seemed to be created plan after Adam had already nailed things. So why was that the case? Thank you. This now, I don't know my voice. I feel like those are only the things that I will ask God. At least I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. Stuff. Um, okay. So for me, not purposely use the energy to but generally when the Trinity seated in this make one after being rich and likeness. And so that's a desire that they want to create someone who's going to be part of them. I think is that need that one benefit. Adam is created, okay, last, so that Eve is created last so that he understands or he feels the need for a companion, just like the Godhead felt that they needed to create someone of their image. Yeah. So for me, that could be the reason, but that does not make Eve a second class citizen that she was created last. Or it doesn't give her a different role from Adam. Yes, it doesn't make her any less inferior or humanly that she was created first. That's how we reason. Okay. So the question is in chapter 1 of Genesis, we Adam and Eve are created on the sixth day, and then they left the room the seventh day. Yes. But everything, the sun, the moon, the water, the heavens were created between day 1 and day 5. Right? But when you come to chapter 2, we always assume that in chapter 1, Adam and Eve are like created. Adam is created, stands up, and Eve is taken, and then Eve is created, right? But in chapter 2, you find Adam is already working, naming animals and all that stuff. And then when you reach to chapter 19, I don't know, but 19, Eve is created after Adam has done all these things. So I think that kind of creates a narrative that Eve is there just to watch Adam as he does all this work, naming and things like that. And then our role is different from Adam. So do you agree with that, Amma? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I pretty much said it. Originally, I thought you were asking why the guys are cooked on one.
Okay, you can answer that too.
No, no, it's not that I said that that's the point.
Oh, okay.
Why we did that is not. If it's why and why it is taken after, I agree 100%. Then, yeah, there must have been a lesson for not humanity, not just happening to man.
Yes. Um, okay, this is like when it's or when they create movies, they use different styles and yeah, different style of movies. What flashback, some, like for me, I tend to feel that chapter 1 is giving it's a summary of the entire creation story, but then chapter 2 zooms into a specific section of this narrative of chapter 1. That's how I look at the difference we notice between 1 and 2 is that 1 gives a summary of the entire creation story, but chapter 2 goes to a certain section within that history of creation.
Okay, but you agree also that what Sabina said is a bit and large to give more information. Okay. So any other person here?
I just wanted to add on what is passé and the English, if you agree, that when it comes to Adam, Adam is naming the animals. So for me, how I see that experience is like when Adam names this animal, like it's a kind of a question that God asking, not really literal question, but as Adam names maybe this an elephant. Now the question is this your counterpart or is this your help or is this your what other word that is use a companion or your helpmate? Then continues all that exercise till the end of the exercise. Adam realized like, okay, I have no companion, I have no someone who looks like me. So he sees that loneliness that he needed a companion who's while he's doing this exercise, he doesn't see anyone that's like
That you can do it, but there's a way to
yeah. So it's
a lesson.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I'm answering the question. A question we can't remember the boy was if Adam was naming his animal forever after he has been created, and then Eve is created in the same way, can it be suspicious that this creation did not take 6 days? It's 6 days a period of time. Goes out with Adam be created, name all the animals, find no companion, and then Eve is created the same way.
The same thing with Adam and the same thing when it's naming.
60 days.
Yeah. That was kind of my question. I don't know, but I think I agree with I have the same question in mind. Because I also remember I said if God wanted Adam and if the plan was he creates Eden they were supposed to use Eden as a lesson to create other homes like Eden. So they were supposed to know how plants grow, probably, how they reproduce, how it is watered and all that stuff, right? So if they were supposed to replicate what was to happen in Eden, they were supposed to learn all that stuff. And they were supposed to watch those things happen for them to replicate it. So I kind of question the same thing, if it really happened in 6 days, but I don't have that. And then someone wants to.
But learning, I think it's like specifically, if Adam is learning the animals, or maybe things, all of the animals that have been created, whatever many animals were.
Yeah.
So it does not take it a day to finish naming. So, and then what you are saying, like they need to be familiarized on how things are being done. Because the first week they never worked. Yes, the sixth they are going to lesson the seventh. Then they are going to learn as the angels teach them. Those teachers teaching them.
So you still say they are created in the same day. That's your answer to that question.
I see the routine or the reality of asking whether it really happened in the one day, that same day. Then, like what Esther is asking, is this literally 1 week or it's boring? That is her question.
Esther, that's your question.
Something like that.
So is it
Because we are taught about creation, after God creating man, they rested.
yes?
So when was this made?
When
It was really one
was
day.
it on the sheets after immediately being created? Or after Joseph.
I think probably a radical take about it. That whatever is described ni jaba kidogo. This is how really agree, like because idea what Esther is asking, but sort of like trying to give an answer. Yeah. So this is how probably it should be, I think it somewhat makes sense. That the description that Adam named his animals when before the creation of Eve is not tenable. Like it's not something you can you cannot vouch for it. Like you cannot defend that position, at least from where I see it. Because even the living of animals, and how many species do we have? Way too many. So if this was to happen and then this full of rest on the seventh, this creation of Eve has to happen on the sixth day, so that on the seventh day now they're all resting, then you can see the point of saying it's almost impossible. Yeah, it's practical and impossible. So I think perhaps maybe there's information that we're missing, or maybe there's an implicit bias that someone, the writer, like put in that place, which for me, I think is how that should put it here.
So I went to the let's assume okay, let's assume he didn't name all, but still he was still the only one naming the animal. It was Eve. So even though let's say he named 10 or 6.
Okay.
10 and then Eve was created after Adam and Eve named them. That seems like, oh, Adam was doing the job he was trying to do, and then Eve just comes to right along and help that. Like anyone who will want to promote the cultural and conservative ideas about it, can use that. Yeah, you just come in to help Adam learn things.
Yeah. Which you
My
saying
question, yeah, I still think even if he names 10,
yeah, it will
I
still
know
be a problem.
it still be a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. You had a point with that.
And all
Nilikuwa nasema or the Bible also says 1 day is like 1,000 years.
7 days.
Yeah, 1 day is like 1,000 years.
Oh, okay. I honestly have that question. and I want us to continue. So my point is, Genesis chapter 1 and 2 clearly seem to promote the idea that you have a man doing this kind of job and a woman coming along to help. So how do we, and that is Eden, you know that's the problem.
If you
That's Eden.
pick your question,
Okay.
for me, I think it is us who is going to interpret that.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
I was coming to that, but
Okay. You like continue.
okay. So I think if we were in that class, I seemed to say that that idea obviously is wrong. And I went on to use the idea of when Eve was created, Adam was never told to teach Eve, right? Adam was never told to, we don't have any account of Adam being told to do this and this and Eve, and this so that Eve can keep up or Eve can come and now help Adam. And I think that is my point. Eve was created with knowledge just as much as Adam. And so if Adam could name and do all that stuff, sorry, and do all that stuff, I was arguing that Eve should also do the same. And another point that we brought up is that the reason we can't accept the argument that Eve comes as a helper is because the person who wrote Genesis was who? Moses. And we agreed that he was bound by the culture of or the society they were living in at that time. And there was a higher chance that he interpreted or he wrote the Bible based on his understanding of the society. Yeah. So we can't really pick the event of Genesis and just assume that Eve comes along as a helper. Number one, because we don't see Adam teaching him anything. And number two, a higher chance that Abraham, no, Moses was sexist in his way of writing. So, theme came obviously. So I'm going to discuss something on the the model of marriage post sin. So I say that in the things you've said, am I in the story of this counting Genesis? So Genesis chapter 1, this passage was a summary of creation. And then chapter 2, you say chapter 2 is that? I repeat and the Latin, can you start that? So I repeat and that, right? And then on the roll, we've seen that during this story, Adam is equal to Eve. And the 2 points we at least the 2 points brought up to support this idea, despite what Genesis chapter 1 and 2 was suggesting, is that Adam didn't teach Eve. I don't know if that's a strong argument, but I think it is. Number two, Moses was sexist in his way of writing. That is why we can't say Eve was coming along as a helper. She was coming along to work just as much as Adam was supposed. But then, and this is the model before sin. Adam is supposed to come and no, Eve is supposed to come and share the burdens of life equally with Adam. So this is the model that we are given, right? So I had written some things. So Adam was supposed to subdue and replenish the earth, and the same thing. Eve was supposed to replenish, really. Eve was supposed to subdue and also replenish the earth. So there was nothing like I am subduing that you're watching what I'm doing, and then you come along and help. This was the model. And if you read, we are going to read the quote. With this model here, there was what we call harmony. Harmony between Adam and Eve. So this model survived because there was harmony between Adam and Eve. If both were going to subdue and if both were going to replenish the earth equally, then there was supposed to be harmony between the two of them. So, Sabina, by the way, do you agree with how I answered the idea that chapter 1 and 2 are not, the idea that Eve was not a helper? Did you have another reason why we can't say Eve was coming along as a helper?
As how we are
Yeah.
interpreting and help as a lesson.
Yeah, because imagine before you came up with your comment, I was seemingly saying that chapter 1 and 2 of Genesis promoted the idea that Eve was coming along as a helper, and you objected. Before I told you I was coming to that. And then when I answered, I said, Eve wasn't taught by Adam and Moses was text it. That was the reason why we reject that idea.
Yeah, to add on that, I was thinking, if removing all the sexist the thing,
Yeah.
if we see Adam as human being,
Yeah.
and if we see if God could have created Eve, the first as instead of Adam,
Mhm.
the same could have happened. Eve could love the animals and could feel their own way, and
Yeah.
Adam could be created. That's why I said it's us who is misreading the first, like it's Adam, therefore Eve has to be someone who is under Adam. So, and we don't think like, what if it is Eve who was created first?
Yeah.
You think that way.
Yes.
It's because of our patriarchal
Yeah.
mindset that we read that first that way.
Okay, would I be correct or incorrect? So I think if I'm understanding your point correctly, you're saying they were created at the same time. This whole naming and Eve being mentioned last was supposed to be a lesson on companioning. No, they weren't created at the same time. The whole thing about Adam naming animals and Eve being seen at the end of that whole process was supposed to be a lesson about companionship.
Yes,
It wasn't supposed to promote the idea of
wasn't about that.
you're getting that point. It's also saying that we can say Moses was sexist and stuff, but according to Sabrina, the moral of that whole paragraph is to teach us that Adam was going to be lonely without Eve. And that's why he needed her as a companion. It is not supposed to teach us that Adam was superior to Eve. It was supposed to be a lesson about companionship, not about superiority. I think we cannot agree with that. Right? Yeah. Anyone with any point to follow? Yeah. So that point supports this idea. So the model is Adam and Eve are working together equally. There is no one who is above the other. Yeah. And there exists perfectly between the two of them.
Yes.
Mhm.
In those two chapters,
Yeah.
is there the word helper, does it appear there? How much is in other chapters?
I think in 21, 26, yeah, it does. And that's obviously because, and God created and helped make
Helpmate, yeah.
Helpmeet and help are different. Yeah.
They are.
Helpmeet and helper are different.
They're different.
Yeah, they're not the same.
So
Just
the helpmate is 126 is not the same thing as helper.
yeah.
Okay.
As he's looking for the explanation, I think David also saying refers to God as his helper.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit is only for our help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think to understand what helper means in the context of Eve, it has to be consistent to its other.
with the other helper. Yeah, I hope that's a good point. So if God is our helper, we need to understand how God is a helper to us as the Holy Spirit. Then apply the same principle to how Eve was a helper to Adam.
Yeah, so it can't be less than.
Yeah. Because you obviously don't think the Holy Spirit is less than us, so God is less than us, because He's helping. And I think that's a good point. Just
Yes, what verse inaongeanga hiyo na hii? Verse 22, verse 20.
Well, it just is looking, but when I searched helper, now help, it speaks of the same information.
so it's the same meaning.
Yeah.
Which means?
You're using the different.
Oh, okay.
The one that, yeah.
Actually, it's the concordance. The concordance says one who helps help the soccer. So those are the ones that are directly linked to the one helping me into Genesis and creation.
Yeah, so. And that help means the one who helps. So they come in to help. Yeah. So maybe we need to understand how they help, the manner of the help. Yeah. And I think the point that Nani said, Edna brought up is, yeah, we have to understand how that help, the nature of the help, and then maybe it will help us to solve that question. So I think we are good to move on. Yeah. Genesis chapter 1, and to as much as it seems to any person who is reading on the surface level, it seems to say that come in and help the man, yeah, build with him and blah blah blah. He's the one who decides and everything. It seems that way, but if you look deeper, it doesn't. Yeah, the reasons could be it's a lesson for companionship. Moses will just exit. The help doesn't look like the way we think it does. So there's more to the situation than we can let. Okay. Yeah. So what we are going to agree with is that Adam and Eve were equal from that story. They all were supposed to perform the same task in the same level. But that was only when there is perfect harmony between Adam and Eve. So today I want us to look at something again. That is after sin. So when they went to Eden, obviously what they were going to do here, according to it, you can read education from I think page 20 onward. Yeah.
So maybe I know maybe I'm jumping the gun, but if still when before sin,
Yeah.
you can see the kind of relationship Adam and Eve are having in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
They, where they were required to have that kind of totogetherness, togetherness in every, even in tilling the land, in going to gather food. So that kind of harmony is also what highlights before sin, because when after post sin, we are going to see the difference where now everyone was required the kind of duties and more signification to their life.
Yeah. So in naming, in gathering food, they were instincts. Like there was no discord in their judgment, in their view of the whole creation, right? They saw things and did they disagree harmoniously? Yeah. Because I think if there's argument after, there should be before, but that's just a trend. But I think discussion, yeah, they think that so they were to discuss and do things in a harmonious way. There was no discord in the relationship between the two. Now, they are in Eden, and then an angel comes and delivers a message, right? Tell them now there's been something in heaven. There was an angel, this and this, and they have been cast down to earth. And what is he going to do? He's coming to tempt you. to disregard of the commandments of God. So Joseph, what do you jump
I think my understanding of it was not towards the helper sign, but more of a coefficient or co-equal. Yeah, by the fact that it's a compound word, like it's a phrase. It's not just help, but it's helping. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we can move on. So I was saying that in Eden, they're supposed to enjoy peaceful labor. They were supposed to learn how plants grow, how they produce. They were supposed to interact with the animals and all that stuff, but in harmony. Yeah, there was no discord. And then the serpent showed up, right? So, but before the serpent, the angel comes, and I want us to read something. So, the angel comes and delivers a warning to both Adam and Eve. He tells them to do what? Who can get us to that part? I think it's chapter 3, verse where they.
I think it's the
I'm like, oh, it's in white. So the angel comes. Can you get us to that? Okay. Because okay, so we can go to Patriarchs and Prophets, chapter 3, just as a backup with for the verses we don't have. So if you go to Patriarchs and Prophets, chapter page 52, paragraph 2, Patriarchs and Prophets, I think it's Patriarchs and Prophets, yeah, PP 52, paragraph 2. 52, paragraph 2. So I'll read. It says, our first parents are not left without a warning of the danger that threatens them. Heavenly messengers opened to them the history of Satan's fall and and his plots for their destruction. Unfolding more fully the nature of the divine government, which the prince of evil was trying to overthrow. It was by disobedience to the just command of God that Satan and his host are fallen. How important then that Adam and Eve should honor that law by which alone it was possible for order and dignity to be maintained. And continue. The law of God is not perfect as God declared. It will be down there. So, in paragraph 53, paragraph 1, like the angel, the dwellers in Eden had been placed upon probation. Their happy estates could be retained only on condition of fidelity to the place as well. They could obey and live or disobey and follow. God had made them the recipient of rich blessings, but should they disregard his will, he who spared not the angels could not spare them. Transgression would forbid his gift and bring upon them misery and ruin. Continues the angels want them to be on their guard against the devices of Satan, for his efforts to ensnare them would be unworthy. While they were obedient to God, the evil one would not harm them, for if need be, every angel in heaven would be sent to their help. If they steadfastly accept his perfectly, they would be as secure as the heavenly messengers. But should they once yield to temptation, their nature would become so depraved that in themselves they would have no power and no disposition to resist Satan. So we can see them getting bold uh, about Satan. Both of them received the warning. Yeah. So Adam was not given the warning to go and tell Eve. They were both given the warning. So they were both entrusted with the responsibility to uh, resist the temptation to disobey God's law. So that is a warning given. But as we know it, what happens when the serpent shows up? Oh, there's another thing before we continue. I don't know where, but if you read going down, you will see also that Eve was told not to leave Adam's side, right? But because we understand that how that looks, I want to believe that Adam was also not supposed to be Eve's side. They were supposed to stick together, and that way they were supposed to overcome the temptation. So who won that path? Eve, yeah. So Eve disregard the whole, yeah.
I will disagree with you. Anyway, that's what Ellen G. White writes.
Okay.
We are not.
So we are not sure if she won that path.
No, but if you see both, it's like the self-finance always wants to accuse the other person,
Yeah.
or make ourselves righteous. If Adam knew that he was not supposed to leave the side of Eve, then he finds himself alone. What was his responsibility?
He was supposed to tell Eve to not get away from it. Then Adam went away and left Eve alone. So Adam left Eve, and that's what led to how
Yeah, when you separate, you can't tell or let know.
But
I think how it's explained, if you're working in the farm and you're all busy, sometimes you find yourselves you've wandered away from each other and you don't realize it. Because the Ellen White explains it, when Eve realized it, she alikuwa hata haoni Adam, but she should have gone back to look for him, but she continued. Maybe Adam started looking for her, but Eve is going in the other direction. Sasa wangepatana.
So the mistake was not in wandering. It was after she realized she was alone, she would have gone back. Now that gives
I don't know that she's not go back, and then on the way she makes this.
But the other thing,
okay, can say for the show that Joseph, Esther, and then Babylon.
I'm not sure I'm going to help us, but I still think that it was an impractical limitation we put at that point. Anyway, these were autonomous beings.
Yeah.
If the lesson was supposed to be infused in any other way, I don't think the problem is actually going away from each other. Because at the very least, these people can trust each other to make decisions that were for their common good. So I'm still wondering why the lesson was wandering away from each other.
Okay, so you don't. You're not understanding why the lesson was do not separate from each other, or what was meant by that.
Because eventually
They would. Yeah.
Someone would explore differently, someone would have different curiosities, but they would still they are coexisting.
There was a point where they would not be together.
Yeah.
can I answer?
Yeah.
The angels are told them that they are in less danger of temptation when they are together. But if you are alone, it's easy for you to get tempted and fail.
Which I you'd say a rational safeguard to put in place, but I do not think it stands as a, I don't say authoritative, as a strong cause for because actually the whole point is you're supposed to learn to, I don't say overcome. But maybe other matter, I don't say someone died because the question of death or something, but the whole idea is as an autonomous being, you could be tested on your own, that other person you could also be tested on your own. We could also be tested together. So I quite not see the emphasis on togetherness as a safeguard for
Standing against temptation.
Yeah.
Was there any possibility that if Satan met them together, they would still fall into sin?
I think so.
According to those people were saying remain together, if the serpent came and found them together, we are thinking that there's a high chance he would never have okay. Okay. So,
The serpent was not supposed to follow them where they are exploring.
yeah,
They are
only at the
Oh yeah. So this is one of maybe Adam separated and went the direction against the ladies,
the
while Eve
went
found
towards
herself. Yeah. So the serpent was restricted.
So if they were together and they saw that they were moving towards the middle of the garden, they would have, you know, there was a high chance that one of them would have noticed and one the other more.
And kind of wonder about.
Yeah. So we are getting the idea, yeah. But obviously, for anyone outside the church who didn't want it, we always say, "Oh, Eve was wondering." Even Ellen White says, yeah, more than Eve, they are given everything, but they still go ahead to look for other things, right? So we kind of see how that line of thinking is problematic. So in the idea that Adam and Eve were told not to separate, there are more than one way to look at it, and it shouldn't be the way that seems to suggest Adam was supposed to be there so that Eve could not sin, because that's how we usually look at it, right? Adam was there so that Eve wasn't supposed to sin. But we continue and say, so in order to accomplish this work and perceive chose blah blah blah, so do not tinkering and warning about the Lucifer. So let's look at the nature of the encounter between Eve and the serpent. We all know after she met the serpent, what happened? She was deceived, right? And she went on and ate the fruit. And then what did she do after eating? She took it to Adam. So she seems past. That's how it looks like. And then, as if it's not enough, she takes the fruit to Adam. And we are told, if you continue reading, Adam knew that Eve had sinned. But instead of choosing a different path from what Eve had chosen, what did he do? Out of love for Eve, he didn't want to be separated from her. He decided to also eat the fruit, and that made both of them fall into sin. Right? So I want us to look at the outcome for both of them. Yeah. So the outcome for Adam was what?
Was it out of love or out of selfishness? That's Adam, right?
According to Ellen White, it says he loved her so much, he didn't want them to separate. Yeah, not imagine being separated. And so even though he knew it was wrong, he went on and ate it. So there was no persuasion from Eve, right? He wasn't persuaded. He wasn't deceived, you know. Eve didn't come and say, no, 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 blah, blah, blah. He knew what Eve had done was wrong. And he made a conscious decision to follow through. So the outcome for both of them is one is now subjugated, right? And the other one is given a life of toil and hardship. Yeah. So I want us to look at the repercussions each one of them made. So Genesis 3, they fail. They fail the test. And then we have the consequences. And that's what I want us to discuss, which ties to our lesson today. So for Adam, the consequence was to do a two one. The first documenting Adam's yeah, that's that. So then what? The book is domain
Come to Adam was said, "Go thou as hearken unto the voice of thy wife, and as eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it, cast is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life."
Okay, so the ground of the start. Yeah. The ground of the start. And then the last part is you will join them.
In sorrow
Mhm.
shall thou eat of it all the ills of life.
Yeah, so I'm just going to paragraph and say, sorrow, toil, and hardship, right? Yeah. So, if you read the beginning of that, the whole paragraph, I'm just going to highlight. It says that the creation was supposed to be under Adam. They were supposed to respect and to respond to Adam's authority, right? But after sin, even the creatures that were under Adam did what? Rebelled. So they were not supposed to enjoy peaceful labor anymore. They were supposed, Adam was supposed to experience sorrow, experience toil, experience hardship. There's also anxiety and all that stuff. And I think that's because the creation wasn't in sync with him anymore. Yeah. So the order was disrupted. And so that brought up all these things. But this is what he did for willingly deciding to sin, right? This is what he gets. You are going to, I don't know how this looks. I want us to look at it, but he listened to Eve describe what she had encountered with the serpent, decided to go ahead and eat the fruit, and this is the punishment that he gets. He gets, right? And then what happened for Eve? And you know what was is the punishment for Eve? That's the fruit. Eve was. Uh-huh.
On thy woman, God says thy woman. Be multiply thy sorrow and thy concerns and reception. In sorrow thou shalt eat of children, and thy son shall eat the husband, and he shall live on the field.
Uh, so swallow the painful childbirth, and then comes the third one, which is uh, subjection to your husband, right? Subjection to the husband. So I'm going to ask the question which I want us to discuss. Was there any difference during in the magnitude of the sin Adam did and what Eve had done? Can we say one was more okay? You can say sin is larger, but I don't know. Can we put can you say one was heavier than the other? Can we say Adam's sins was like less because they didn't do it fast? And then Eve was like magnified because she did it fast. Yes, yeah. How do we see that? Because obviously the punishments are different. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know we passed that part, but I think Eve deceived Adam.
It is.
Yes, I don't think Adam. From the way Ellen White describes it, when Eve is, I mean, she doesn't do it knowing, oh, this is the right thing, but let me tell him a lie. But once she eats the fruit, she is convinced that what Satan was telling her was true. And Ellen White says she immediately becomes an agent of Satan. And when she goes to Adam, Adam at the back of his mind knows that this is what we had been warned against, and is that part of his love for Eve, but also he begins believing what Eve is telling her by saying, I mean, even look at her. She looks even more excited, more invigorated, more lively. So maybe actually what Satan is telling her is true. And who has put those ideas in his head? It's Eve.
So you would deceived. How do you get deceived when you know something is wrong? And
Well, maybe not, but if Eve didn't come to him, he would not. If
He would
Eve
not
didn't
have
come with that gospel to him, he would not have. The same way, if Satan didn't come to Eve with that gospel, Eve would not have sinned. So Eve is acting as an agent
and
Satan.
she deceived Adam.
Yeah, the same way Satan is.
So I'm going to ask you the next question I was asking you. Does that make Eve's sin more? I don't know what word to use.
Again,
You get to know.
Yeah, I think yes. I think that's part, all for the rest of, and like if we know the curses are just natural consequences, as Adam and Eve are living together for the rest of their lives, and Adam is seeing how bad their life has turned out to be, of course he's going to be blaming Eve. If it were not for you, he will not be in this place. So he has the upper hand automatically, and she can't really bargain because she knows, yeah, this is my fault.
Okay. So anyone, so she agrees there's some heaviness when it comes to Eve things compared to Adam. So the men then Edmund.
Yeah, for me, I see the fact that if I start with the food does not make Adam make like it does not deceive Adam, because Adam already know that the promise the instruction is you should not eat the fruit. So he could have stood for that truth.
Yeah.
But I don't see how it is. Like it's him who is having this picture. Like when I'm looking at you, you are growing even. Yeah. It means that fifth if
You don't see how the deceitfulness comes in when it comes to Adam and Eve. That the interaction between the two. You don't know how that is deceiving.
yeah, because when you look at the snake and Eve, I see deception because the snake is talking.
Yeah.
And the snake was not even the power of speech,
Yeah.
was not speaking. So while the snake is saying, look, I've eaten, that's why I can talk.
Yeah.
So if things here, I think that is true. The moment we take the fruit, I can have that power than the one that we have. But for Adam,
He had no
The
record
same thing, but Eve had changed. She was more lively. She was like the
Adam
serpent.
is creating.
I know, she looks like, even before she meets Adam, Eleanor anasema she really looks like that. Like, how is it different? Do you believe Satan deceived Eve
Yes.
because of how the serpent was looking?
Was what is talking even.
But even that's what happened with Eve.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's a tool used, so it's really Satan. But if does not like think about that, Satan can transform into a snake and speak. So he thinks like maybe this snake can speak. This fruit has power. So I can obtain also that power in the form of God.
Okay, the idea that when Eve was blowing, she was holding the fruit in her hand and she was not dying, right? And she seemed radiant and all that. That's why you're saying it's a deception. The appearance of Eve after cleansing. Okay. Yeah.
But you see, that is the second reason why Adam, at least how I understand the point, right? The main reason why Adam ate that fruit was because he was going to get it. And
He knew he was
like,
going to
yeah,
right?
yeah. So he knows the consequences of eating, and she has eaten, and he does not want to be separated. So I think at that point had already made a decision to eat it. And then now comes when, okay, she's not dead, so maybe the serpent is not lying. So she's not dead, she's talking, she's doing all these things, so maybe there's some truth to that. But the reason
The primary reason was he knew she was going to die and he made a decision to die. Okay. So back to my question. Who is seen it more heavier than the other?
Maybe I have a question.
And that
But it's
is
different how what they discuss. I'm struggling to understand Adam's curse because I don't think it's unique to him alone. Like they had just the 12 or something. They don't have Adam alone is going through that. Because even when
Ongeza to what she's saying. Unless it was already predetermined that even before the whatever toiling and this that pertained to what they were using to survive, it was already on Adam.
Yeah. They were supposed to work either way.
Yeah. Unless we're assuming that it was Adam doing this before.
Okay.
Yet he wasn't the one who they were all doing things.
So, but you can see the nature of the work after sin is different from the nature of the work before sin, right? Okay. So,
Was it a question or an answer to?
he said, Edna raised the point that this curse of Adam, okay, it's just a severe version of what they were supposed to do before sin. They were all supposed to work and do tilling the land and everything. They were supposed to do that. Only that after sin, it is more, it's more rough. Like doing this thing is more harder than it was supposed to be. And now that is Adam's curse. So she's saying there is no uniqueness when it comes to the curse of Adam. And like when you look at this, there was not supposed to be any pain during birth, right? Yeah. There was not supposed to be Adam is here and Eve is here. And that is what he escaped. So if you say this true, it is like what if I get?
See, I think it shows you how humanity will develop. Because after being kicked out of Eden, where they were basically gatherers, now they're going outside where they're transitioning to agriculture.
Yeah.
And with women, naturally, with women giving birth, they are naturally indisposed to work as hard in the farm. So of course it's the men who are going to be working more, tilling the ground. So I think it's just showing the burdens that the different people carry.
So this, you say that these are just consequences of what they had done. So if consequence, okay, if I'm understanding you, so if they go out of Eden and now they are supposed to till the land and everything, this becomes the result of that. They're not gathering anymore. So they have to till, and that puts a separation between what men will do and what women will do. So what about this?
So I mean, yeah, women were still going to do it before, but I don't think it was going to be painful.
Yeah.
I don't know, or maybe children would grow up faster, so women would be able to go back to the farm more, quicker. But now, yeah, everything has
Pregnancy will
changed.
not take that at all of them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And to add on that, still they should be both gathering. Yeah. Yeah. When those women are giving birth, what are to gather?
things are not hard enough to communicate the situation even after they give birth. That is before sin.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. So I wanted to speak to the magnitude of the consequences. And I think Eve's was Diane.
Okay.
Yeah, Sabrina. I don't know because she's saying that, but I think it was because so first you're saying we're agreeing that consequences are very possible.
Yeah.
Like also like the power and just external, I think that that's and then I'm saying on top of the pain for part there is the entire subjugation, which takes even now a different story. Yeah, on a woman, or like the people like me. So on top of this, there's already the pain, the insanity.
Do you think that is as a result of her being the first one to fall in the group?
Yeah, because how I might experience it is there was a need for someone to submit, and because she sent first, she was on to submit.
Is it because she's in first or just because I don't know? Like I don't think it's like God saying, "Oh, sister will be finally for instance, no, I'm going to run the God." I don't think that's how consequences work.
Okay.
The real is perfect.
My reason is just more or less what they say. But when you go to the PP 56, the going down price is both of them have seen that.
Yeah.
One thing that takes comes to a reality.
Yeah.
That the temperature and the environment was going to change, or the environment immediately changed. And that change of environment now made things different because for everyone and for everything. Because before the temperatures were it was just everything was at the optimal. But after seeing, I am realizing that the temperature has changed. The leaves are falling, there is decay. And so for me, I look at these things that they weren't there before seeing. Right? But what is the turning point are two things. The environment changes because of the sin, and so how humanity was going to respond was also different. And then the other bit is so if I remember it, and I think even for childbearing and all that kind, Adam Eve was going to bear. But the pain comes because now everything is under sin. So the other bit that I'm saying, before, if we looked at chapter 1, we are not seeing roles coming in. It is Mezaliwa, knowledge. In fact, you do the best, you start as making information subdue and your danger. That was for both of them. But now sin has come and there is need for segregation of children. And now God takes the responsibility, saying, "You Adam, every sin is for you. If for harmony, as Ephraim was saying." So for me, I think those two things came in after sin. The listen, which is being outlined on roles, I think how we learn, and also the environment changing due to sin, which now is an effect how the things they were doing before sin will be done after sin.
So the changes in the environment was going to change how they would interact with each other.
Yes.
One way or the other.
Yes.
So it wasn't like God just saying stuff. It was you're going to respond to this either way, whether I say it or not, right?
Yes.
Whether I pronounce this curse or not, those things are going to happen, right? Is that what you're saying, Amma?
Yes, because you see now, we normally say God knows the end from the beginning. And so when he mentions something, he mentioned it because he knows it was going to happen. Yes, we put it as a curse, but God is outlining the things that are going to happen going forward. Yeah.
Because of the changes.
Yes, because of the changes.
Okay. Was there anyone need to talk?
Becky, maybe I must slow down. I still don't see how the hardship the toilet song is unique to Adam.
Is what?
Is unique to
Is unique to
Adam.
Adam.
We didn't answer that question.
Or you did our
Because we just went over it, but we didn't get a complete answer. So we can think about that and then give an answer.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Rispa, besides the environment changing, I think even their psychology changed, and it changed immediately. Like you can see when God comes looking for them, and Adam already anaruka Eve, anasema, this woman that you gave me, she gave me of the tree and I did it. So you can already see the blame that's coming in, and already you can see it's like she does not value Eve as much anymore. So of course, there's no way he will be the one to be subdued under Eve naturally, just without even the prophecy that God gave. Everything had already started unfolding.
Okay, so God pronouncing these things was just him stating facts. It was going to happen whether he said it or not. But I was looking at a quote, and there was somewhere that Ellen White was suggesting that to maintain order, one of them needed to to submit. So she's indicating that it was either one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it kind of fell on Eve because on account of her being the first one to be deceived.
I think the Bible says that. I think it's why.
Oh yeah,
The Bible mentions that.
yeah. So for there to be harmony in this marriage, one of them had to submit. It wasn't like, oh, Eve by default was supposed to be the one submitting. To maintain discord, to maintain order, one person had to submit in this relationship. But the burden of submitting fell on Eve.
So I want to like poke a hole in this sense. So the part, so that is the reason, that is what you're terming the natural consequence.
Yeah.
One had to submit to another, maintenance of harmony. Sensible, I think it's not a lot more.
Yeah.
But the justification for saying that now Eve Adam had to be heavier because she's the first to sin, I think that is based on Ellen White's preconception. And I think you can trace that preconception even to the point where she's giving the account of Adam and Eve being warned of Satan so that they be careful of who they are, the part of separation. So remember, this is the point when none of these two beings have fallen or have been tempted. So like, that is in Story of Redemption 31:1. So I'll just read a very short part where she's speaking about it. She says that the angels cautioned Eve not to separate from her husband in her employment, or she might be brought in contact with the fallen foe. If separated from each other, they will be in greater danger than if they are both together. So you can see the emphasis is the angels are cautioning who? Eve. So at least in her mind, or I don't know how that cosmic reality looked like, the angels of Ellen White is already convinced that it's Eve who is in a position of danger compared to Adam. So she should not separate, as opposed to telling them that, like, the whole message is you together, you are stronger.
But Eve alone is more, more
For where
I think the reason was because they knew how things would unfold. Like, see, God knew that how things would happen. So
isn't that a predestination?
no, that's not predestination. But I mean, if I can see the future and if I can see the future and Anione, actually, you're the one who Satan will approach, isn't it fair? I focus on you in giving you the warning more than I focus on someone else.
God knew
Eve was going to say.
Not easily, and not that she will be easily deceived, that things will unfold like that.
So he was trying to
with Eve, the same way Christ knew Judas will be the one to betray him, but it didn't mean that it's fixed on Judas, but he knew, like, he approached Judas differently. He didn't treat Judas like the rest of the disciples, and that's because he knew Judas would be the one to deceive him. So I think it's the same thing with Eve. Maybe he knew Eve will be the one approached by the serpent, so maybe let's warn Eve. Let's focus on warning.
So he knew Satan would have got Eve, and that's why he led the angel. He gave more one intense warning to Eve, not because he thought Eve would be
Is weaker.
For me, the warning was given me. But anyway, I just want to.
No, but she's saying so.
So, First Timothy chapter 2, verse 11 to 15 tries to the difference that we were saying that Eve was supposed to submit because she was the one first to be deceived. It says, let the woman learn in silence, in all subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then two, and Adam was not received, but the woman was received and was was in the translation. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue to faith and charity and goodness. First,
That is it, right?
First Peter chapter 2, verse 11 to 14.
Okay. I mean, I would still say that for me, that would still be prejudicial. But okay,
What?
like it would still be false prejudicial mind in the film. His preconception of women, yeah, and not just, yeah, this is
So-
really say a woman to submit.
So you're saying whatever God is saying is because it affects us by the
Yes.
sexism of the time.
Yeah.
So he's thinking just like we would if we read that one was
Yes.
right? Yeah, he saw he did this part and that's why he's supposed to be
Yes.
silent. So I was bringing up the idea that Ellen White herself, I think there's a verse in the Bible. It says one of them should submit to the other. It wasn't this submission thing was not supposed to be like, oh, Eve
Yeah.
submit. One of them was supposed to be under the other. It wasn't supposed to be just Eve. It could have been her. And the purpose of that submission was supposed to maintain order. It wasn't supposed to be a bad thing. Submission wasn't supposed to be a bad thing. It was supposed to help them come out of the situation they had get into. Yeah. Even when we continue reading that Patrick and Prophet, this curse of Adam and Edna, the curse of Adam was supposed to teach him self-control. Yeah, so I think it wasn't unique to him, but both of these consequences were supposed to teach them something in order to help them begin their status before sin. So as much as they were some good, or they were some, I don't know how to put it. Yeah, this type of Adam was supposed to teach himself control because God saw that as what he was lacking. Yeah, it wasn't a good thing, but through him going, when he went, as he went by in this condition, he was supposed to learn lessons for self-control, lessons of putting guardrails on his appetite and all those things. Yeah, I think that's how I can answer. It's not unique to Adam alone, but it is catered to his needs. He was supposed to learn self-control. He was supposed to put gadgets and appetite. I don't know if that helps. No? Because obviously it's not the only one. Even now, we are all working at and sorrow. Yeah, so probably we also have issues with self-control and appetite that it help us get over. Yeah. And if the subjection to the husband, she took on that role because one of them was supposed to be submissive to the other. So she took on that role, not because she sinned first or anything. I personally think it was to maintain some kind of order and for them to learn so that they can go back to the situation before sin. And giving birth and pain, I think I'll take this perspective. Maybe the changes in environment is what caused all the change, the bodily changes that Eve was undergoing. So our time is up. I'll give Linda and then we can close. This is just open to discussion. We can continue.
Yeah, as I wrap it down.
Yeah.
Isn't they make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Come and cry sin imefanya the woman to suffer.
Yeah.
Yes, it was submitted for the sake of even
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But like when you were some year back, that what we labored on. There is no like there's no reason. Like you cannot talk your past. God alisema tu to stay with him. There's no benefit to that. For me, it was like a snap of the finger, but still.
Do you think God induced that pain to punish even when it happened because of the environment?
Like what? Why?
Is it like
Like we see right now,
alimpatia pain kata, like, oh, you are not feeling pain before the
Yeah. yes, you know, like squeezing, wanaonekana epidural and all that.
Yeah.
All that was possible. Giving birth painlessly was very possible.
I have met people who give and birth pain.
Yes, ndio nasema it is possible.
So it is what that's how it was before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you, you're suggesting that
Ilikuwa pointless. Unaona, semekana labor over the years ama centuries. Kuna some point in unaelewa wakisema cast the land because of like unaelewa tu even say like we are working extra hard amount like for just that out from the land. It's entire. So why what like pain haina any childbirth
haina any
haina any reason, haina any benefit, and it's now ukitafuta from like when you look for a reason for the pain, at least society ama chakula zimechange bro. Nani sana nipitia even the women during that opportunity. So it's yet something that came gradually. Walizama walikuwa nafikia. So God aliamua tu
I don't think I agree.
yeah, most probably.
Okay.
But like that's how like I think.
Okay.
For
Can
me,
you
that's
spend time with that? Can say. If we could anything else to do that Becky, and we take on the relationship as to be done, should take as in living with them.